Joining me now on the Knicks Film School Podcast, the starriest studded lineup of podcast hosts that talk about the local basketball team in the city of New York. There's only one. We only acknowledge one on the show. I will first welcome back my co-host and better podcasting half. He has been away for a bit, but he is making his triumphant return. I think because I think he won our preseason picks week thing. Jeremy Cohen. Hello, Jeremy. How are you?
Hey, John. Yeah, it's been a while for you too. I know we were both on alternating vacation schedules. You went to the happiest place on earth. I went to not the happiest place on earth, but it's great. The Mexico Knights and Texas Suns. It's perfect. But yeah, doing all right. Thanks. Glad to be here. And season starts. Well, what will be today? It's crazy.
Oh yeah, because when people are listening to this, it's going to be Wednesday. And well, as I have the Sixers Celtics game on in the background. Also joining us, the esteemed hosts of a very popular Knicks podcast, who do yeoman's work. 5 episodes a week, baby, never fails. Alex Wolfe and Gavin Schall. Alex, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm, I don't have a ton to do tonight at all. I have lots of podcasts to produce and articles to edit and everything else. Man, I'm excited for the first game of the season because that means that I've hit the end of the preseason marathon and then can just get into the flow of things. So I'm very excited for that.
I have trepidatious excitement for the first Knicks game. Like I'm obviously looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to real basketball to be here. But like once that it's like speaking about the happiest place on earth, me coming from Disney, once the roller coaster ride starts, that's it. You're not getting off. Doesn't matter how much you panic.
Strap in, baby.
Strap in for all 82. There we go. Gavin, how are you, sir?
Doing good. I was going to say we should get to borrow Claudio sometimes. 5 a week. It's a lot. We're talking. We're editing out here. We could use him if he ever wants to swing by.
I like to think we keep him pretty busy over here. Although he doesn't have a baseball team to watch anymore, so that's.
So Gavin, how much?
I wasn't even that cool.
Let's talk offer sheet.
Since, we offer internship credits. So
Claudia suddenly just became available after that.
Yeah, what do you know?
Well,
my
we
schedule
have
just suddenly opened up.
Give us 48 hours, and we'll match that offer sheet, and we'll retain him.
Okay, I'm a restricted free agent as well.
Are you going to wait till the last possible moment? Do that move, or you hold up our cap
John,
for the whole time?
That's for John and I to decide. We could either do the Phoenix Suns approach and do it like 9 minutes in, or we could do exactly what Alex is saying, wait till the midnight hour. I don't know. There's something kind of fun about like them thinking they've got their hopes up that they've got Andrew, and then we match right at 11:58, or figuratively speaking.
I'm thinking I want to try to
Claudio.
I want to try to pull off some. Who was the Knick executive that was like apparently hiding in a hotel room trying to avoid getting the Houston Rockets offer sheet to Jeremy Lin? Wasn't there some kind of like
Isn't that Grunwald?
It might have been Grunwald. Yeah. No, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to like hide so I can't accept the offer sheet.
All I know.
Or we DeAndre Jordan, Andrew, and just lock him in his home.
However you guys want to work this out. All I know is I just hired Scott Boras, so I'll let you guys handle that end of the deal. However,
never mind. I'm done. I'm not.
By the way, guys, do you want to know what your predictions were last year when we did this crossover?
No.
It's not going to be good for me.
I love this sort of stuff because we're all stupid, man. I'm okay with saying
I remember I had one that was decently acceptable. I don't know about the rest.
Jeremy, you'll be fine. I'm telling you right now, you'll be fine. Gavin, I love you. You might want to buckle up.
I was in a bad headspace when we did it. Wasn't
good. I also say, Alex, I love you. You also might want to buckle up. John also technically on the money with one of them.
Oh wow, Locked On Knicks crush. This is propaganda.
Listen. I'm just reading the predictions.
It's called bold predictions, isn't it?
Bold. That's right. Not mildly bold and somewhat safe predictions. So we'll start with Locked On Knicks. So Alex, your first one. was that the Knicks will have representation in every All-Star Weekend event. Now, Obi did win the dunk contest, so that's not completely wrong. Not only they have
Fournier probably should have been in the 3-point contest, right? Like,
already the hedging.
But by then so the worst part about this prediction is he said Julius would make an all-star team, possibly also Kemba. Yeah, that's where
at the time it was
bold.
Easy to believe. All right.
Listen, there's more on Kemba coming.
Wait, did he miss it last year? Did he miss the All-Star? I
don't know.
Yeah, I forgot.
Was he on the team after the All-Star game? He missed literally everything, the All-Star game and then the rest of the season. And then Alex also had Kemba will average a career high in assists. It was 6.5. He did not reach that last season. I didn't look it up. I just know he did not reach 6.5 assists last season. And then keeping with the theme, you two have been podcasting for a long time together, apparently, because your bold prediction last year, your third one, was that Mitch will get Defensive Player of the Year votes and end up on the second team all defense.
Oh, wow. That was my prediction.
That was your prediction last year.
I was really scared. I was like, that's not good.
Look at us.
Locked in.
Literally locked in. Same brain.
Yeah.
Let's stay with locked on Knicks. So Gavin, your first one is that the Knicks will finish with the top 7 offense per 100 possessions. And that 5 players will average, the way they'll do it is that 5 players average 15 points a game.
Oh,
yeah. I'm so sorry. I blacked out last year. That didn't happen. that was wrong.
I was wrong. So RJ did, Randall did. Did anybody else average 15 points a game? I forget. Or were you, I actually wondered per 36, did the Knicks have 5 guys do it? Regardless, it didn't happen. The other thing you did, which actually the logic and the reasoning was sound, is that the Knicks will finish top 3 in 3-pointers made. And you were like, they had all these guys that had averaged 40% or more from 3-point land. You add Evan Fournier to the mix, that number is only going to go up.
You would have thought.
Well, just Randall and RJ's 3-point shooting falling off a cliff is unfortunately part of the equation, and also point guard Burks, leading to higher usage as a result. Then the last one, IQ will double his assists per 36 minutes. Let me actually look this up because I'm not sure.
I don't think that one aged that badly. I'm not sure if he got there, but I think he maybe came.
So Emmanuel Quickly, his rookie season. Oh, you were close. His rookie season averaged 3.7 assists per 36. He averaged 5.5. So he did go up.
Yeah. 50%. That's halfway there. That's a win. I'll count that as a win relative to the other ones.
There you go.
mean, relative to the other ones.
This top 7 offense from this team was unfortunate. Let's go to Jeremy, who the Knicks will be top 5 in assist to turnover ratio, which will lead to a top 12 offense. Well, neither of those happened. Yes. Marcus Aurelius. So I'll go to your third one because the second one kind of scared me when I saw how accurate it was. Actually, both of these are actually, Jeremy, you nailed this. So the third one, Grimes will enter the rotation at some point and his play will keep him there.
Good job.
Jeremy nailed it.
Very well done.
I feel like I also said it was going to be before the All-Star or like
you
before
said
the deadline.
it will be because of injury and then it will stay there. He will stay there. Whether it was
counted. Yeah.
COVID does count. Yes. And Derrick Rose's surgery. And then the Knicks, you did get the player wrong who they traded for. You said Terrence Ross, but you said the Knicks' big deadline move. Well, they will be trading Kevin Knox in some capacity.
Listen, I'll take the easy W, but we all could have seen that one coming.
Can I predict they're going to trade Cam Reddish on this episode?
Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly. Right.
Well, John, Kemba will average a career low in minutes per game.
Yay.
Yeah. The Knicks will extend Mitch at some point, which they did. Although, no, they didn't.
They didn't.
They signed him. So you got that. You were so wrong, John. Why are you
He entered unrestricted free agency.
You idiot.
Yeah. Almost as bad as saying they'd have a top 7 offense.
Yeah, you big dummy. And then, so let me go pull it up again because you had an Obi take, which.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. That was the per 36.
Oh, the per 36
that was a really good one. Yeah.
It was a good one, but you would have needed a different head coach. So Obi will average per 36, 18 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, 1 steal per game, and then you went, and the big one is 2 blocks per game. Obi last season,
I'm looking it up right now because I don't want you to pull any chicanery.
Okay, it's 19 points per game.
So I got that one right.
You got that one. Everything else is under. 7.8 rebounds per game. So
what did I say?
9.
It's pretty close.
2.3 assists per game. So that's close. You said 3. Less than a steal, so 0.7, but you said 1, so it's closer to 1 than it is to 0.
I missed on the blocks big time.
Blocks, you averaged 1. You said 2. So
yeah. Well, I mean,
right.
Listen,
when he gets all these minutes at the 5 this year, then he'll be able to get it.
That's been my big argument the last couple weeks on the pod is that Obi needs to get they can do Julius and Obi because Obi looks better at defending the rim during the preseason.
And so our big argument, John is convinced it's going to happen. I'm convinced it's not ever.
You can argue pretty easily that Obi had the best. Actually, I don't even think it's close. He had the best per 36 numbers of anybody on the team when you factor in efficiency.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
all right.
Those are your predictions last.
I'll take a mini victory lap on that.
Obi was better than the year before, which is how you opened the predictions. That you were much high. You're very high on Obi, and you're predicting all of these things. You also, the company that he was in for those predictions was like only Anthony Davis, and these other players these other all-stars were in that. So there you go.
Okay.
Sounds like Locked On Knicks has to step it up.
I'm just going to pretend that
we're not going to include that part.
we will be including that part. Yes. So this is our preseason predictions column. I believe this is the column. My goodness. Talk about where my head is at. I still need to edit some stuff before I go to bed. Preseason predictions pod. I believe this is the 3rd annual, right, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And all I remember about this episode in years past is I think I once made a prediction that Dennis Smith Jr. was going to blow up and have an awesome season.
He did half of that. Didn't get all the way there, unfortunately.
As it turns out, it was actually more likely that he literally would blow up than blow up on a basketball court.
Hey, you know what? I mean, at this rate, he might be Charlotte's starting point guard this year. So there's some upside.
Could you imagine if he's the starting point guard in Game 4 at the Garden? That would be
last man standing.
that would be something. Okay, so we're going to do the first half of this show here on this feed, and then you're going to go over and head to Locked On Knicks to hear the second half of this. We each have 3 predictions, so you're going to hear 6 on this episode, and then 6 on the Locked On episode. I think me and Jeremy are going to go first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy, do you? Age before beauty. I don't know. Do you want to go first or?
Well, age before beauty would mean you go first.
Because I'm older?
Yeah, and I'm more beautiful.
And less beautiful.
Wow.
I don't like how this is turning out. Okay. Okay. I have one kind of boring one and 2 kind of more exciting ones. I'm going to save the one that's the most exciting for Locked On. So I'll pick between okay. I'll start off with the thing that I think is going to be a bit of a hot take. I predict this season that the starters will at least play even with the bench. And to refer specifically to what I'm talking about, so it's not like some amorphous concept, I'm going to refer to last season's on-off differential as per Cleaning the Glass. To say that these numbers were not close is putting it too lightly. So some of the bench guys, Emmanuel Quickly was a plus 12.2 differential. Obi Toppin plus 9.9. Derrick Rose plus 8.9. On and on we go. Meanwhile, starters, Kemba Walker was a minus 12.5. Julius Randle minus 9.4. RJ Barrett minus 7.1. It was not close. If you go dig into any of the lineup data, it makes it very clear the starters were poo-poo and the bench was very, very good. I think it's going to be at least even. This is essentially my Jalen Brunson prediction in that I think Jalen Brunson's impact mostly on the offense, but I think the upgrade from him over Kemba in particular is going to be pretty stark. And I think just even more than that, and I wrote about this a little bit on Tuesday, the team just had such terrible like vibes last year. They were probably bottom 5 in the league in vibes. And it feels like that's going to be different this year. Now, obviously everything feels great in preseason, but there does seem to be a good something going on with the team. I think they're going to continue to like try hard throughout the season. I don't think we're going to get a repeat of whatever happened with Julius last year. And yeah, I think it's going to equalize. So that's my first prediction. I'll open the floor to anybody to agree or disagree.
I mean, so I don't think it'll be too hard to be, first off, better than last year, considering they had for like the first half of the season, they had the 5-man lineup that had the most minutes in the NBA and also the worst point differential, regardless of filters, of any 5-man unit in the NBA. There was like bench lineups that played like 5 minutes together that had better net ratings than the Knicks did last year.
I looked it up today. The final offensive rating and defensive rating numbers for the Kemba starting 5. The offensive rating would have ranked last in the NBA, and the defensive rating would have ranked last.
Yeah,
in the NBA.
They were like minus 16 or something.
Yes, they were indeed minus 16.
So, yeah. I mean, I guess the hot take is that they'll even out, but I actually, based off the preseason, I think the bench is going to need a little bit of time to sort of coalesce, which has a lot to do with Hartenstein.
That factors in here as well.
So I find this to be bold just based off the precedent set by last year, but I think you have a really good chance of coming out smelling like roses on this one, because I think that everything's kind of lining up where Brunson has obviously been a super seamless fit into the starters.
Yep.
The bench, because of Hartenstein learning to play without like a more traditional rim protector in that backup lineup, which the Knicks have. I mean, depending on what you want to call Taj, like he did a really good job walling off the paint.
Yeah,
I think,
he did.
Regardless of if he was a quote rim protector, he was a rim deterrer, which is just as good if you use your body right and everything. So like, Hartenstein definitely is more foul happy, and that's going to create some issues. Sims is probably still a little too green to come in if Hartenstein does get in foul trouble. So I think that's the big difference. It's going to kind of even things out, is like the presence of Mitch in the starting lineup and question mark, at center. Yeah. In the backup, with Hartenstein there, but then, if things aren't going well, then maybe Sims, whatever. And then the Brunson factor in the starting line. I mean, you replace the corpse of Kemba Walker and not a point guard Alec Burks with like anybody that's a league average point guard, and that's an upgrade. But Brunson, I think, is pretty well beyond a league average at this point. I would say he's quite comfortably above average. So,
and I think he's, at the very least, I think he's a league average starting point guard. I was also struck by, and I don't know if we paid as much attention to this in the moment last year. Obviously, there were a lot of blown leads, but the second and fourth quarter numbers for the starters in particular, when you compare it with the second and fourth quarter numbers for the starters the prior year, the we hear Big 15 year, absolute night and day. That team wore opponents down, and by the end of halves and the end of games, teams just like the numbers say that the teams they were playing just gave up. Whereas last year, it was teams were just like, we know the Knicks will wilt. We just have to wait it out until they do. And I think think this year's team will be closer to the prior year's version than last year's. Jeremy, Gavin, any other thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick. I don't want to go too deep on it because this is, I think Alex has one like this too, but almost directly counter to a prediction I have, which we'll say for the Locked On Knicks side of things. But suffice to say, I think the bench is potentially going to be one of the best lineups in the league. And in turn, I think what you're saying is almost as much a Derrick Rose prediction as it is a Jalen Brunson prediction, because we can all flash back to 2 seasons ago when Derrick Rose guided a lineup that was top 5 in the NBA in net rating amongst teams that played at least 250 possessions Rose, quickly, Obi, Taj, and Burks, was plus 17.5 net rating, which is obviously impossible unless we're the Boston Celtics of the second half of last year. Like, the starters are not going to come close to replicating that. So I think baked in here is obviously that the bench is not going to be nearly that dominant, and I think that's totally fair given that the rest of the East has gotten a lot better. Like, some of the benches in the Eastern Conference have gotten a lot better, and you're banking on Derrick Rose staying healthy the whole year, staying on the team the whole year, and being the same guy. But I think even the small flashes we got from Rose this preseason have me very confident that he can replicate a good portion of that production. And I think in turn the bench could blow up. So that would be the only thing that could sabotage this, because I'm with you in that I think the starters will play pretty much even for most of the year to their competition. But Jeremy, what do you think about all this?
I think you hit the nail right on the head, took the words right out of my mouth in terms of Derrick Rose. This is coming from someone who has been adamant about maybe not having Rose on the roster, not because he's not talented, but because of the needs of this team. And I think what I have underestimated is also just not only how good he is, but how important that type of player in that role can be for the rest of the team. And he is a driving force. I don't think it's a coincidence that there are obviously other reasons for why the Knicks wilted last year, but Rose not being present, and then by the time he was able to come back, the season was gone. So just having him there, I think, makes all the difference. I don't expect it to be, like you guys are saying, a great second unit, but I think that I feel like I'm going to look at Hartenstein to Obi like I looked at Kyle O'Quinn to Doug McDermott. A lot of those backdoor cuts, and just
that's good.
Like, love that squad no matter what. But I don't think it's crazy, but I agree with the other gents, John.
The boldness of it is, I think, mostly it's. I don't think it's that bold to say the starters will be pretty good this year. I think it's very bold to say that the bench will not be out of this world awesome. And implied in the prediction is that the bench will take a little bit of a step back, which I don't feel great about that. But we'll see. Maybe Derrick Rose, I think he's gonna be on the team the whole year, unless things go horribly wrong. Maybe he picks his spots. Maybe he's a little bit more selective as he's 34 years old, although he is in the best shape of his life, according to him, or at least the best shape he's been in for some time. So we'll see. Jeremy, what is your first prediction?
I'm trying to figure out the degrees of boldness that I should get. Like, if I should ramp it up, because, do I start with the most bold one? I don't really know. I feel like I got to ease people into it. So I'll start with the one that's a little bold, but I feel like it's the least bold of the three. And that is that I believe the Knicks this year will be a top 15 team when it comes to effective field goal percentage.
Whoa!
So for context,
that's bold.
It is bold. Last year, the Knicks were 26th in effective field goal percentage, which was not good, as you can evidently tell by the fact that there are only 30 teams in the league. Something I pointed out in the Jalen Brunson cap or no cap that we did. The Knicks were 12th in guard efficiency in 2013-14. Since then, their guards were, in terms of efficiency, 27th, 28th, 25th, 23rd, 30th, 29th, 23rd, 25th last season. Last year, they were 50. The guards were 51.4 in terms of efficiency. Brunson himself was 54.9. And his worst season was his second year, which was 50.5, which for context would have been among the better ones that the Knicks have had just on his alone. I don't think he can do it by himself, but I do believe that I'm really encouraged by how we're seeing Randall. And I think that it's encouraging to the point where, I mean, we're all going to sing Brunson's praises, but if he can actually lead an efficient offense on his own and drive and kick, and the Knicks are able to just play smart enough basketball on offense where their offensive rating isn't going to be crazy high, because again, it's a Tibbs team. I feel much more confident in the defense than I do in the offense, and believe the offensive rating was like 22nd, 23rd, somewhere in that range the last couple of years.
Yep.
So I would like to believe that the ability to get someone like Brunson and just have competence will lead to the Knicks as a whole being more efficient. So I know 15 might be a little higher up considering it's 11 team jump, but again, John, I know you were talking a little bit about it in your newsletter, but the difference to go from Kemba Walker to Jalen Brunson is staggering. And Brunson's good, but he's not that good. It's more about how unfortunate Kemba's season was last year. So,
and let's also add, well, I sung the praises of Alec Burks up and down, and I was one of his last defenders. Him guiding offenses to close games in the fourth quarter was an atrocity against humanity. And again, Alec Burks was not a bad player. That was not his fault. He should not have been put in that position to begin with. We don't have to go down that road again. But I think to your point, we're not getting that again either.
Hey, that's rude. All right.
Thank you, Mitch.
No, I'm with you. Like it's funny too. As you were rattling off that list, Jeremy, I was like reverse engineering it in my head. And that year that they were 29th, I'm like, ooh, I wonder who the starting point guard was that year. It was the man himself, Elfrid Payton. And I'm actually surprised that Derrick Rose pretty much, well, and I guess quickly in his rookie year managed to drag their efficiency up to 23rd in 2021, considering you still had Elfrid Payton on the team starting every game that year. I agree that things could definitely get spicier from here. Because I although that said, I mean, I don't know, top 15. I mean, that is quite a leap.
When I say top 15, I don't necessarily mean like 6th or 8th. Like, I think they'll be a league average range team from efficiency.
But like, if you have like a top 10 defense again, that's probably a pretty overwhelmingly positive team, right?
I was about to say, I was for the newsletter that'll be out on Wednesday. Like, this is not exactly a revelation, but by far the biggest predictor of offensive rating is effective field goal percentage. Like, you could give me all your free throw rates and offensive rebounding rates and turnover rates and all that bullshit. It pales in comparison to effective field goal percentage. If they have a top 15 effective field goal percentage with their strengths on the offensive glass, not being a low turnover team and getting to the line a lot, they're probably going to be like a top 13 offense, top 12-ish offense. And then if they have a top 10 defense, I mean, I'm afraid to ask you what your prediction is for like what seed they're going to be.
Here's the thing though. I think they can do all of those things. And because the man who's coaching is coaching, I think they could still lose a lot of games.
I think you're nuts.
I know that, but how many games did we see where the Knicks had a really great chance of a victory last year and then poor coaching decisions were made and it kind of slipped away? Like, you can still do well and you find some way to mess up. It doesn't also just have to be him, right? Like, you can find other ways to blow games that aren't just coaching that can still impact these other stats as well. So
I would politely say that the Knicks' inability to put the round ball in the round hole was a bigger issue with why they stunk last season than anything the coach did. But that's a me thing.
Sure, but well, we don't have to go back.
Did the coach keep playing the players that couldn't put the round ball in the round hole?
I like the reinforcements.
Did he have a point guard, quote unquote, that could get into the paint, but then only finished on like 30% of his attempts in there? I think
when you consider the fact that the Knicks' two highest usage players by far, and the two guys who accounted for between 2-point field goals and 3-point field goals and everything, accounted for, I don't know, over a quarter of their total shot attempts. And I think well over that.
But don't you think that 6 Knicks are going to hit 100 threes?
Yeah, I think the Knicks are going to hit a lot of threes, but I think it's going to their success specifically in the category you're talking about, the effective field goal percentage. I think Brunson's going to be good. I think the bench is going to be fine for the most part. I think Fournier is going to be fine. You know, the centers obviously are very efficient. It's going to come down to RJ and Julius.
Sure.
And
I guess that's
RJ and Julius stunk last year in that specific respect. They couldn't hit shots. And if they can hit shots again, I think Tom Thibodeau is going to look like a genius. If they can't hit shots, Tom Thibodeau might not have a job anymore. I don't think Tom Thibodeau is going to be the reason that a Knicks team that is suddenly magically efficient on offense is going to like be unable to win games. That's
not what I'm saying.
I think it is what you said.
No, it's not. I'm saying it's a factor. I'm saying we know from last year that there were moments where it was very evident that the Knicks should maybe change up their rotations or limit terms of minutes of how certain players who are not performing well and making them feel like there was a responsibility there, then there just wasn't, and letting go of the rope. Again, it's like, obviously coaching is a significant factor. It's always going to be a factor, but I don't want the impression to be like, hey, you know, like the Knicks do well. It's Tibbs putting them in the place and to succeed. And if they don't do well, that's on the player. There's got to be more of a middle ground there.
That's fine. But, well, Julius was the least efficient shooter on the team. RJ Barrett was the second least efficient shooter on the team. And the third least efficient shooter on the team amongst the guys who actually took commensurate round of shots was Emmanuel Quickley, who everybody wanted to take more shots. So I don't know if that's a coaching thing. I think that's just that guys aren't making enough shots thing. But we'll see what happens this year. You're right.
I'm not saying it's purely a coaching thing. I'm saying it's a part of it. But I want to toss it to Gavin because I know he has.
Yes, Gavin.
He hasn't had the
you guys are covering it. But I'll throw in real quick. I think it's entirely contingent on Julius Randle and whether or not he can make threes specifically. I don't really see a world if defenses aren't respecting that shot that the Knicks' efficiency inside the arc is going to be good enough for them to get there. And I think Brunson's going to have a drop off from what he had in Dallas, even if his skill level's improved. I think RJ's improvements are only going to be marginal if the paint is as clogged as it ever was. And that was for all the good Julius did this preseason. Again, super small sample size, but he shot 20% from three. So that I just think that has to go up both in terms of like the raw numbers of efficiency and just the cascading effect it has across the board. But outside of that, I'm here for it because I think the bench has a chance to be hyper efficient and buoy that a little bit. And you combine that with Brunson, there's a chance they get there.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Cool.
Who's up next? Alex, you want to go?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. Why not? All right. I'm also going to go with the one that when I was writing it, I was like, "Is this even spicy?" I don't know. I mean, it's kind of bold, I guess. It's predicting an award. It's predicting a Nick winning an award before the season's even started. So
That's
I guess
incredibly bold.
Yeah, I think that my bold prediction, and I'd say this. We have. I don't know if you guys have a betting sponsor. We have a betting sponsor. I won't say it on here because they're not paying you, I don't think. Or if they are, maybe, I don't know, whatever.
It's Manscaped.
Yeah. We have a betting sponsor, and I've been bringing this up like nonstop this week that Brunson for most improved player is like a plus 1,600 or something right now. And I'm like, that feels like a nice bet to me. I mean, who else could potentially get that award this year? And who else is going to have the uptick in opportunity that Brunson is going to have? Who's going to have the uptick in responsibility and, sort of having the governor taken off like he's going to this year? Like Tyrese Maxey, I know, is a very popular candidate. I think he's the favorite right now to win the award, but he's playing on a team with one for sure MVP candidate, one former MVP, perennial MVP candidate. I'm sorry, like, how is he going to find latitude to get that much better on the same team, playing the same role that basically they just buoyed up their role players a little bit, but like that team's going to function functionally the same, that
That's
they did
fair.
last year. So I don't think he's going to get it. I think I saw like, was it Cade? I think Cade is ahead of him or something, or Cade might be ahead of RJ Barrett.
Cade and Anthony Edwards, I think, are both pretty high.
Yeah,
and
it's second year players never get it. So,
and former number one overall picks have only one former number one overall pick has ever won it, and it was about 3.5 decades ago. I think it was Purvis Ellison.
But also Edwards just had such a good year last year too, though, that like, how much higher is he going to go? That it's going to be like, oh my God, you had so much improvement that you're the most improved player. I think Brunson will get that same boost that Randall got the year that he won it, which is going to be when the Knicks are playing, like, because Randall was getting that buzz before they even went on that final run. That just sort of solidified it. But Randall was already getting that buzz just from them playing like 500 ball. Like, if you play on the Knicks and you're playing 500 ball, you're going to be, and you're like one of the like top guys on that team, someone is going to be in some award conversation. Like, we saw that happen with Amari the first half of that first year before they got Melo. People were like, oh my God, the Knicks are like 2 games above 500. That's amazing. He should be MVP. Like, he probably would have gotten a couple MVP votes that year. Like, unironically, unsarcastically. And then Carmelo, the year that they win, the 50 plus games, is second or third in MVP voting that year.
Third in MVP voting that year.
Third in MVP. J.R. Smith wins 6th man of the year. So like, people take notice when the Knicks are good, and they typically win awards because you want to put the the blue good job ribbon on the guy from the biggest market and, reach the most people with that award or whatever. So I think if the Knicks play at the level, like we were all talking pre-show about like how many wins we think they're going to get. Like if they're, I don't know, if they improve by like even like 5 wins this year and are at like 43 or 42, I think that's enough. And if Brunson is like the catalyst of that by being a competent point guard and, maybe he ups his averages from, what was he, 16 and 5 last year? Was that what he ended on? I think if he gets up to
that sounds right. I think the biggest thing that he's going to be hurt by is if people look at his numbers without Doncic and perhaps his per 36 numbers, although he played a decent amount of minutes last year,
maybe,
and they're not that different. I think this would be an award that would have a much better chance of happening if he, A, clearly established himself as the Knicks' best player, and B, the Knicks got, I don't know, I don't want to put a win total on it, but like very clearly outpaced expectations. The only other thing I'll note is 7 of the last 10 winners of this award were first-time All-Stars in the season in which they won it. And the guy, and then Dragic wasn't an All-Star the year he won it, but he did make the All-NBA team that year. So it was like, that was a little weird quirk. So it's like, you're essentially predicting he's going to make the All-Star team, I think.
Which I think if the Knicks are playing well by All-Star time and he's got, I don't know, averages of like, let's say like 19 and 7 or something like that, I think that's good enough to be an All-Star, especially if RJ and Julius are averaging around 20, so it's like the margins are pretty thin between them. I feel like Brunson would be the guy that would get the nod as the All-Star and then eventually be the most improved. And the impact stats, I think, will look phenomenal for him too. Okay. So that'll definitely help his case.
Yeah. I think the raw numbers are just going to have to be in a place where I'm not sure they'll get to, maybe somewhere around 24 points per game, which isn't crazy in a different context on a different team. I just think there's going to be so much balance that he's not quite going to get there because I'm to Macri's point. I don't think the Knicks as a team will stand out as like, all right, this is a team that deserves awards, right? They won 50 games out of nowhere. We got to attribute that to someone somewhere, and it has to be written down. It has to be definable. He's going to have such a big season stat wise that I don't know if he'll quite get there. The interesting, maybe like other variable other than points is if his assists got really high out of nowhere, and he averaged like 8-9 assists per game. And to be fair to Jalen, like he hasn't really had a chance to do that in his career playing with Luka, and he might show that he's a far better passer than anyone thought this year. So that could be the flip side of it. But I think he could get close. I'd be surprised if he won it, but that's why it's a bold prediction.
That is why it's a bold prediction. Yeah. Jeremy, you got Jalen for most improved?
I wish, but no, I do not. The reason is I think that Jalen Brunson had his coming out party in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think that he is kind of at a level now where he's no longer like, there's an underratedness to his game because he's not on a larger stage. But I think that there will be this idea in his mind where, look, he's like 26 years old. It doesn't often go to players who are on their second contracts. He's someone who I think is viewed as good, but even being in New York, I don't think there's kind of the glitz and glamour. Like Randall was so good that he had to win that award. Yep. And I don't know if Brunson will get to that level. I also think that media narrative plays a huge part in this. It's why I think, with LaMelo injured, although he made the All-Star team. So I'm right. I mean, so he's out. I think someone like Tyrese Halliburton.
I got Halliburton.
Where it's just like, he's beloved, whether you see him as a star or not. I think he's going to be a really good player. I don't necessarily see him as like that star level. But I think that just how he is perceived by so many and the fact that he will get the benefit of the doubt. Like there's some players who are in his position who don't get the benefit of the doubt. Like I'm sure Colin Sexton on Utah, like even if he does well, it's going to be perceived in a way that was similar to where he was with Cleveland, which was like when he played, he played really well, but Cleveland wasn't a good team. And if he does the same thing with Utah, then like, yeah, he's a good guy. We just haven't seen him in an environment that works. Whereas with Tyrese Halliburton, for whatever reason, even though he did well in Sacramento when they weren't doing well, if he does well in Indiana, I feel like it's going to suddenly be like, look at what Tyrese Halliburton's doing. It's like, it's impressive. And look at what he's working with when he's got on paper right now. Like, it's not a good team, but it's like, it's better than Utah. So I just think that because Nerza plays such a, I think it is.
Better than Utah, the 2022 to 23 NBA story.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I think someone like him, who's a younger player, it just is beloved by NBA media, kind of can be like the darling of what's going on.
Big award for third-year players historically.
Yeah. And when I look at the list of third-year guys, the other players, like, is it Patrick Williams? Because he'll have more responsibility. I could see it, but he's coming back from injury, so he's missed out on a lot of time, whereas Halliburton hasn't. So I would love to see Brunson win it. I think he'll be in the conversation, but ultimately, because he's not a quote unquote younger player, I just don't think he's going to be really a winner or in the top three.
I dig it.